Who is Dr. Cristin Fitzpatrick?
Well, that's a fantastic question. I'm Dr. Cristin. I am originally from New York. I was born, raised, and educated in America and ended up coming over to Europe about 13 years ago. To make a long story short, I just celebrated 8 years in practice here in Malta.
Wow.
And we are here with a team of different specialists to help our patients with anything related to the brain, spine, and overall healthcare.
Wow. That's wow. When I first heard your specialization, it's brain and spine. How are they connected? Because most people do not maybe know that our brain is, the spina dorsale, they say in Italian, of our body.
Yeah, so really fantastic question. So, our brain and spine is our central nervous system. Essentially, it's controlling everything in our body. When I talk about this with patients, there are so many things that we don't necessarily know or understand, but we know when something is off and something doesn't feel right or something has gone wrong or we are sensing something is maybe not right with our kids. And that's sort of my specialty, getting in and saying, okay, how are the different aspects of the brain working? How are the reflexes working? And how do we help change what's happening in the brain, right? Because the brain is kind of like a computer. We can upload certain amounts of information and we can expect our brain to perform certain tasks. And then sometimes there's programs we want to sort of get out of the way. So when we talk about this, when we talk about a brain and spine center, it makes a lot of sense because a lot of what people suffer with are neurological conditions. Sometimes this means that they already have a diagnosis. Sometimes it means that they're searching for answers.
What are the major problems you face with your patients? The different diagnoses.
Yeah, so essentially, we work with anything related to the brain and the spine. When it comes to specialization, a couple things that we really specialize in are neurodevelopmental disorders.
Mhm.
So, working with pediatrics, I'm working a lot with kids with ADHD, autism, sensory processing, dyslexia. So, these things happen during stages of development and they start to become a problem, and we need to know what we can do to help reinforce certain pathways inside the brain and so they can kind of connect. We also work with a lot of cases, including stroke rehab, vestibular problems. So a lot of people have problems with dizziness. I mean, you name it, movement disorders. So I did a whole specialization in movement disorders, talking about Parkinson's, Huntington's, different types of dystonias. Dystonias including cerebral palsy. So again, kind of coming back to what's happening with the kids. We love working with kids in here. We come with a whole holistic approach into how to nurture and train and teach the children. We also work a lot with sports performance. So we have a lot of Olympic and professional athletes, and we work more on training what's happening in their reflexes to help improve their performance. So yeah, essentially patients come to us with everything. They come to us with the stuff that sometimes they teach us in school. You'll never see this. It's still going to be on your board exams. But a lot of times we see a lot of patients in those cases. And what we do is just sort of assess the whole situation, go through case histories, and we come up with an action plan to be able to make some changes.
Are the rates going up in neurological disorders, ADHD?
Yeah, so what we're seeing over the past few decades is the statistics are really increasing exponentially. Right now, the current statistic that we have is 1 in 6 children face neurodevelopmental disorders, which is quite a bit. If you think about it, if a classroom has 20 students in it, we have, 3 to 4 students that are facing challenges when it comes to academics. There's so many different aspects to that. So it's not just they're not performing well in school. We look at emotional characteristics, sensory, academic, emotional, their immune system. So there's so many different factors that go into creating these neurodevelopmental disorders. The beautiful thing about childhood is when we act early and when we start making those changes early, we change the path and the direction on where we're heading with brain development and neurodevelopment.
Is this something related to Malta? Or it's worldwide, rate wise?
Rate wise, I don't know the current statistics in Malta, but honestly, when it comes to a lot of stats in between what's happening in the States and what's happening over here, we're pretty much congruent. Okay. So when we talk about lifestyle, what we have access to, we're first world country. So it comes with a lot of luxuries that maybe we didn't have 50 years ago. Sometimes those things that make our life easier are not always the best thing for us to be able to do. Case in point, when we talk about technology integration, when it comes to what we're doing on the weekends, right? We all love to get out and do something physical and be active and participate in sports. But now we seem to be doing a lot with technology between video games, entertainment, watching movies, and these types of things. It's not that they're bad, it's just we need to have a daily dose of healthy aspects to help contribute to healthy function.
Yes, in fact, this brings me to my next question because for parents who have just been given the diagnosis for their children, sometimes I have the impression that for them it's like a suicide sentence. But we are here to raise awareness and to give hope. What are those simple things that parents can do to their children so that these conditions can, by time, evolve or change? Having ADHD is not a suicide sentence, right?
Yeah, of course not. And sort of hearing those things, I get goosebumps when you say these because sometimes the challenges that we face in our life are a blessing in disguise. And they will teach us things that we didn't know that we didn't know. And we sort of look at these things as opportunities to be able to open new doors. So my whole mission and my whole vision behind the clinic is to take the fear out of healthcare. So, thinking when we have something or we're facing something shouldn't be something that puts us into a state of fear. It should be something that we go, okay, we have this problem. What's our options? And that's really what we're set here to do is say, okay, you're going through this. A lot of times, I mean, I hear these stories when patients are coming in, they're having these challenges with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they have all of these things that they're facing. And I'm going, okay, if I organize this, taking everything that I've learned along the way, all my tools and strategies, I'm going to package it into a nice little game plan, and I'm going to put a time frame on there on what my expectations are and when we're going to achieve them. So having someone to sort of guide you along and exactly what we need to do is super important. Another part of what we do is not taking that box and not taking that label and sticking it onto a child or, okay, we have this problem, but we don't have to talk about it every day. Let's take our time when we talk and let's talk about something positive. Let's talk about how we're going to move forward with this. Let's, maybe take what didn't go so hot yesterday and change that tomorrow, right? All these moments that we have, these are those opportunities when we're going to make that difference. The beautiful thing with development, so in development, when we learn certain things at certain times, is it's a process. So when we start changing how that process occurs, is how we change the path and the trajectory to what we're on. And sometimes, and I will say this, those are the greatest gifts that we have, right? I don't know what exactly normal is. I don't think anybody does. We have things that are common, we have things that are popular, but if it goes, well, we just want to be normal. Okay, but what's your superpower? Right? A lot of times we'll have these situations and they turn out being superpowers. But maybe we're not so good at this. Okay. What are we good at? Right? How are we going to move in that direction? We'll still address that concern that we have, but how are we going to move in a direction to take those strengths that we have on the inside? When we talk about the brain and spine, okay, how are we going to take that brain and turn it into this most majestic experience that our child is going to have?
Where do you think the fear comes from? The fear from healthcare,
Okay, so fear comes from not knowing.
the fear of the unknown.
The fear of the unknown. When we don't know something, we panic. Okay, we don't know what else to do. We don't have any information for us to be able to make an educated decision. in my training with my patients, I live it every day. It's all about informed consent. So if we have a certain problem, patients are going to tell me, and patients actually know much more than sometimes they think they do. We sort of talk out that process on what's the problem, and then we go behind the science. And I'll explain the science. I say to most patients, do you like science? Let me show you something. So I will pull out textbooks. I will take posters and markers and show them what's happening and what my expectations are in order to help the body heal in a certain way if it's possible. Now, we're not always able to do that in certain situations, and we need to have real conversations and give actual information about what's happening with the patients. But informed consent is so important, and then it gives the patients the ability to make a choice. And when a patient makes that choice is when the fear is removed and we empower patients. So empowering patients to make the change ultimately is what's going to get them better.
Amazing. I think you should stop here. I don't know if you want me to ask you more questions, but I think this is
Yeah.
maybe you
Okay.
want to mention the article